This baby blanket uses Color Theory yarn and a 4.5mm hook. Color Theory is a level 4 worsted weight yarn, and I use the color Tourmaline for the main color, Ivory for the petals of the daisy granny square, and Bee Pollen for the center. Here is a side-by-side comparison showing the size difference between these two squares. Here is the worsted weight square, and here is the bulky square. They are crocheted exactly the same except for the petals. Notice for the chunky square there are 1, 2, 3 posts for each petal. For the worsted weight square there are 1, 2, 3, 4 posts for each petal. Let me show you how to crochet the petals of the daisy baby blanket. Insert your hook into any stitch of the center, add your slip knot, and pull through. Work the beginning cluster. Chain 2, yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Keep repeating this until you have 4 loops left on your hook. Now you have 4 loops left on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all the loops. You have just completed your beginning cluster. Chain 3. To work a regular cluster, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Keep repeating these steps until you have 5 loops left on your hook. Note that the rest of the petals of the round will be regular clusters. Only the very first cluster is a beginning cluster. Now that there are 5 loops left on the hook, you can yarn over and pull through all the loops. The cluster has been completed. Look how beautiful and full the petals look. I crocheted 56 granny squares for my baby blanket. When it is time to seam, you will split the chain 2s in each corner so that this chain 1 belongs to this side and this chain 1 belongs to this side. With the wrong sides facing you, we will whip stitch the granny squares together. I've already done the vertical seams and now we'll do the horizontal seams. Thread a long strand of yarn through a yarn needle. Find the chain 1s of both sides and insert your needle through the front loops of both stitches. Pull through and keep pulling. We'll leave a little bit of an end which we will knot and weave in later on. Find the front loops of the next stitches on either side and once again, pull through. By seaming through the front loops only, we are leaving the back loops untouched, which gives a lovely frame for the granny squares on the right side. Continue whip stitching across in this way. As we're approaching the corners and where the 4 granny squares intersect, we'll keep matching up the stitches and seaming them together. I'm seaming this chain 1 to this chain 1. As I'm about to cross this vertical intersection, I can add some more seams for extra security and to ensure that there are no holes at the junctions of the 4 granny squares. Continue whip stitching across. This is the wrong side of the blanket, but let's flip it over and see what the right side looks like. Here you can see the seam gives a very clean and flat look. All 56 granny squares have been seamed together. To begin the border, have the right side of the blanket facing you and insert a stitch marker into the back loop of this chain of the corner. Make a slip knot. Insert your hook into this back loop, add the slip knot, and pull through. Chain 1. Work a single crochet in the same stitch. Note that the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Continue working single crochets in the back loops only, leaving the front loops untouched. Work extended single crochets in the dips between the two granny squares so that the stitch matches the height of the rest of the stitches. Extend this loop a little bit taller and then finish off the stitch. This is how we will work the corners. Single crochet in the back loop of the first chain, chain 2, single crochet in the back loop of the second chain. This helps to give sharper corners. To close up the first round, we will single crochet in the back loop of the remaining chain. Chain 2. Then slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round. Now we will switch from a 4.5mm hook to a 6mm hook. To begin round 2, chain 1 and work a slip stitch in the same stitch. This slip stitch is the first stitch of the round. Continue working slip stitches in the back loops only all the way around. Be sure to work very loosely, otherwise slip stitches can be very tight. When we're approaching the corners in the chain 2 gap, we will chain 2 and skip the 2 chains from the round below. Then we will continue working slip stitches in the back loops across. To close off the round, when we're approaching the last chain 2 space, we will chain 2, skip those 2 chains from below, and slip stitch to the first stitch to close the round. You will continue working slip stitches for the subsequent rounds of the border. For rounds 4 and 5 of the border, you will chain 3 across the chain gap rather than chain 2. Once all 5 rounds of the border are complete, you can fasten off and weave in all your ends. As a beautiful finishing touch, you can steam block your final blanket to smooth out all the stitches of the granny squares, border, and seams. Enjoy trying out different color combinations of Color Theory yarn. Have fun crocheting your own daisy baby blankets, everyone!